So I'm going to quickly tell you, well, I don't know how quickly, I'm going to tell you about how we find the area of a circle. And it has to do with, it's related to rectangles and parallelograms. So the first thing we do is we take a circle and we cut it up into lots and lots of pieces. So I've cut it up freehand into 16 pieces. But you can imagine that we can break it up into 32 and 64 and 128, and this idea is going to continue. So then we cut them. And so what you really have are these little, kind of a piece of pizza or pie, right? And what we're really looking at is a bunch of these that are almost triangles. Now there is this kind of curved part, and that's why we break it up into more and more and more, because the smaller and smaller they get, the less and less of a curve you have right here, and the more you just have a tiny little, it's almost straight. But then we arrange those top to bottom like this. So hopefully this quick sketch gives you an idea of what we're talking about. So now the question is, what is this length? Because we know the area, hopefully we already know the area of a parallelogram or a rectangle is base times height, right? Well, this is the base. And what is this base equal to? Well, if we look at it, that base should be equal to half of the circumference, right? Because the other side should be equal to this half of the circle. So really, this base is equal to 1/2 of the circumference. So now we know what the base is. What about the height? Well, as you can see right here, this length is the radius of the circle, and that is the height. That's kind of a slant height, but even if I go straight down, now it's curved, right? So any one of these is going to be the height. And so the height is actually equal to the radius. So our formula now becomes the area of a circle equals 1/2 of the circumference times the radius, because the radius is exactly the height. Well, if we use our formula for circumference, either pi times diameter or something that's going to help us a little bit more is the circumference equals pi times 2r, and we replace the circumference in this formula with pi 2r, then the area of our circle is 1/2, and I'll just put it in parentheses so we can see it, and I'm going to rewrite it as 2 times pi times r times the radius. Now the parentheses were just to show you what the circumference is. It's all multiplication, so we can drop the parentheses, and we have 1/2 of 2, which is 1, times pi times radius times radius. Well, 1 times anything is itself, so we have pi, and then radius times radius is radius squared. Now, the thing is to remember that radius squared is not the same as 2 times the radius. You know, if the radius is 5, don't say, oh, that's just 10, because 5 times 5 is 25. But I just wanted to show you where the formula comes from. And this is the formula that we're going to be using for the area of circles. So in your homework, you're going to have 3 types of problems. They're going to ask you to find the area given diameter or radius, and then they're going to ask you to find the better by. So let's just go through, first of all, if you're given a diameter of, let's say, 12 inches, because I think that's the size of like a medium pizza, maybe it's a large pizza, and we'll be using that in a minute anyway. So the area of that pizza, again, I'm going to write out my formulas generically before I plug anything in. If I start plugging things in before I write them down generically, sometimes I may make a mistake. So pi times the radius. Oh, so I almost wrote down 12. Off to the side, maybe I write for myself, well, they've given me diameter. With circumference, I could use radius or diameter. But with area, I must use radius and only radius. So the radius is 6 inches. So area is going to be pi times radius squared. So now I can start plugging in those numbers. So we're still going to use 3.14 for pi, and then 6 squared. Remember, 6 squared is not 12. So first I'm going to do 6 squared, which is 36. And you could be doing all of this on your calculator, but I still prefer to show my work so that if I make a mistake, you can help me find it, right? And so 3.14 times 36 is 113.04. And we go ahead and we round to the nearest hundredth, but look at your directions. If it says tenth, make it tenth. Now it's important that we don't just put inches, that we put square inches. And I actually like students to write out the word, or not the word, but the abbreviation square inches. Now 113.04 inches squared is also acceptable. The only problem is that we still say 113.04 square inches, and students who write it the second way sometimes end up writing it 113.04 squared inches, and now this one is incorrect. Either one of these two is okay, but I want you to remember that it's not that we're squaring the inches, it's that it's little squares that are 1 inch long by 1 inch high. That's how many inches are going to cover that circle that has a diameter of 12 inches or a radius of 6. Now if you're ever asked to give the exact answer here, again, pretty simple. We square 6 and get 36, and then we use the symbol pi, and then we still put square inches. And so that would be our exact answer if we were ever asked for an exact answer. All right, now let's do one where they give us the radius. So let's say that they give us a radius of, 7 inches. Well, again, I'm going to write down the formula generically, pi times radius squared. By the way, if you're inclined to just double the radius, I encourage you to write down area A equals pi RR. Maybe you think it's a joke, maybe it's funny. But that'll help you remember it's radius times radius. So again, 3.14 times the radius squared, or times itself. So then 3.14 times 49, and that equals 153.86 square inches. So pretty straightforward. All right, next we're going to do the better buy. And to find the better buy, we're going to need to know what unit rate is. We're going to need to calculate the unit rate. And the unit rate is the cost per unit. So we're always going to divide the amount of money by the unit. In this case, since pizzas are measured in inches, we're going to find out how much it costs per square inch. Oh, and I just wrote inch. If we were going to buy, a length of hose or something, I don't know, then that would be per inch or per foot. But this is per square inch. So in order to find the unit rate, we're going to need to first calculate the square inches in 2 or 3 pizzas, whatever we're going to compare. And then we're going to divide the cost of each pizza by how many square inches it has and find out how much each one costs per square inch. And of course, we're looking for which one costs less for a square inch. So one of my former students owns Rita's Pizzeria up by Weinigers in Clearfield. And looking at their menu, I'm looking at the deluxe pizza. She sells they've got a small, medium, large, and extra large. We're just going to talk about the medium and the large. So the medium is a 13-inch pizza for $10.70. Again, this is for the deluxe. And a large pizza is 15 inches for $14.50. So we're going to calculate which one is the better buy. So first we need to calculate the area because we know the cost already. And we need to divide 1070 by the number of square inches. Well, we don't know the square inches yet. So remember that pizzas are measured by diameter. So since the diameter is 13 inches, the radius is 6.5 inches. So area equals pi r squared, so 3.14 times 6.5 squared. And so we use our calculator to find that. So 3.14 times 42.25, that's 6.5 times 6.5, is 132.665. And for now I'm going to go ahead and keep all those decimals because I'm already using a rounded number 3.14. And really, you're never supposed to round your answer until your final answer. And this is not our final answer. This is what we are going to divide 1070 by in order to find out the price per square inch. So don't round until you have to. So I'm going to change to a different color just to show that. So now I'm doing $10.70 divided by, and if you want to, put on your little dollar sign to remind you. Oh, and I forgot to put square inches. I should not forget to do that. So divided by 132.665. Now I don't need to put my units in here because I'm just going to calculate that on my calculator now. And that gives me 0.08065,428. Probably goes on from there. But really, this is about 8 cents per square foot. I said per square foot, but I meant per square inch. So I'm going to write it up here because I'm at the bottom of the page. And I do want to put my dollar sign. So 8 cents per square inch. Alright, so let's look at the large. The diameter is 15 inches. Therefore, the radius is 7.5 inches. So area equals pi times radius squared, which equals 3.14 times 7.5 squared, which means times itself. So area equals 3.14 times 56.25. And the area is approximately 176.625 square inches. And now I'm going to divide 1450 by 176.625. And it's very close, 0.082094834, and it goes on from there, I'm sure. So this one is 0.082, which makes me go back and think, well, I should at least include this decimal or that digit right there. So I know it's 0.080. This is 0.082 cents, really, per square inch. So the better buy, just barely, out of the two that we're comparing, is the medium for 1070. But it's so small that if you want more pizza, you probably it's relatively the same price. But medium is still a better buy.